Hello, good evening. Welcome to Rebel Ants Radio. I am joined today by my co-host, co-pilot, co-partner, as always, Miguel. But we have a special guest with us tonight, MarTech. How are you doing, man?
Yo, what is going on, fam? Miguel, Kevin, how you doing this evening?
We are great, man. Thank you for joining
Great.
us. We're excited to have you, and we're live on YouTube, X. Some people might remember that as Twitter once upon a time when I was your age, and Instagram. So if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe, show some love. If you're on Twitter, give us a repost, retweet. What do we call it? Retweet. And if you're on Instagram, go over to YouTube.
I don't think it has a name yet.
I don't think it has a name yet.
Yeah, they're gonna put you read it soon, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been quite a week. And the price of crypto has been all over the place. I think people are less worried today than they were a week ago, which is good. But things just roll on anyway, right? That's kind of been the story of the game for the past 12, 14 years. Is things just move on. How are you guys handling the changes in crypto prices?
Man, the volatility this week has been really interesting. It started off on Monday, was looking pretty murky on Monday. I think Solana was down to like 116 bucks to start
Yeah.
on Monday. But it's not our first rodeo. We know that there was going to be a rebound. So it rebounded nicely on Monday afternoon, and for the rest of the week, it ain't been so bad. Still waiting to see a nice little retrace on the BTC and ETH, but
Yeah.
it's the nature of the beast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been all over the place. I mean, Solana went down for sure. It went back up, and then I think today it's been down again to another 10% or 12%, something like that. But it should bounce back. I mean, people are panicking. You know how people usually just panic and they're like, crypto's down. But crypto's really not down. Crypto was at like 30,000 just a few months ago. You know what I mean? Like,
Been a lot worse, bro. I
yeah,
remember, do you remember
Yeah.
years ago when we had that May of mayhem when the market really took a huge dump, everything, I was scrambling around trying to liquidate my LPs and all that kind of stuff. So
mhm.
for all intentional purposes, it's really not that bad.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
Well,
So Martek, you want to give us a little, 30-second elevator pitch on who you are, so we can kind of dive into what your life looks like in this
Who
world?
who am I? I'm just a guy that shows up in Web3. Definitely bullish on Web3. I love to show up and support the founders and the builders, the graphic. I just like to show up and support everybody that is bullish about this Web3 protocol. It's it's a serious time in history.
Yep.
It's kind of like the advent of when the World Wide Web came about, and nobody knew what was going on. But I think for us that are in Web3, us early adopters, because we are still early, I mean, it's a great opportunity. It's a great time in history. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we are laying the foundation for generations to come. So having this opportunity to be kind of ground zero, before mass adoption, really takes a hold. Really amazing. Just glad to be here.
Yeah,
how
I
do,
think crypto will be a point on the timeline when you zoom out and you look back in 100 years from now. The evolution of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology will definitely be on that timeline, along with some of the other major events. It'll go like 9/11 and then Bitcoin. I think that's the sequence we'll have.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, again, if we look at around in a lot of the global markets and stuff like that, we've got AI that's really taken a major grasp and
Yeah,
changing the way that we do business. Web 2, Web 3 has changed the whole landscape. So blockchain technology, once it gets a good hold on the GP, the general population, I mean, we're talking about a major change in the way that we kind of do things, interact with everything in life.
what do you think about AI art? I'm curious to know since we touched on that just now.
AIR, it's kind of subjective topic. I think when it was first introduced into the NFT space, there were a lot of people that were against it. I myself, I kind of had reservations on it. but I guess it's kind of like becoming, I wouldn't say it's becoming the norm, because I think it's all about how you execute it. I got a good buddy. It's a project that I actually featured. They came out of Genuine Undead, Undead 2043. I'm not too sure if you've heard of them, Lane the Neo
Yeah.
Warrior. Now he's taking this whole AI, like, I mean, the way that he's executing it is on a whole nother level. So I guess it's the way that you execute. If it's just straight AI and like, there's you're not using other applications to kind of like enhance and kind of like, add a more realistic feel to the art. I don't know, it might seem a little bit watered down, but there are certain individuals that are using a combination of AI and a couple of different platforms. Ah, there you go, Undead 2043. My man Saigo, big shout out to Saigo. But yeah, if you look at the way that he's executed, I mean, like, he's done a phenomenal job with what he's doing. He's doing digital comics, he's done some videos and all that kind of good stuff. So like, I'm not opposed to AI art. I think it's all down to the execution and down to the actual creative mind behind it as well.
Yeah, it seems like these are pretty like well thought out of. Like it seems like they're very well managed through the AI.
Yeah,
If
these
that,
look good.
yeah, those look really good. Yeah, you know, we had a guest a while ago, Wonder Mundo, who spoke about AI art at a point where I was kind of against it, right? Because I'm an artist by nature. I've been an artist my whole life. So, but she opened my eyes to what AI can do, right? Because she talked about how AI can help people with disabilities get into the Web3 space. So that was very eye opening to me because I didn't think about it in that sense. And then it kind of makes sense to me when she said it. And I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Because what if someone out there doesn't have like, some sort of disability and they can, draw or like whatever the case might be. But through AI, they're able to do what they need to do. Their creative ideas can come to life. So that's a good perspective of how to use AI in a different way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it brings a whole kind of like use case and functionality to
Right.
what, like, you know what I mean? Because I mean, art is like about self-expression, and as you said, maybe somebody that has a disability, but they have all this creativity going on in their mind. So now, with the help of AI, yeah, they can express themselves through art. So again, like, it's just like with everything. Like, you take a subjective, objective opinion, and like, if there's utility and there's use case, or again, depending on how you execute, it can bring that value, like, to the art world.
Yeah. So, Martek, let's talk about you. Like, I love your energy, especially in those spaces. So, like, your energy is something that it's refreshing to the space. Like, I really like watching your spaces. I love listening to you talk. Like, it brings a whole level of energy into the space that we needed, that wasn't there. So, where does all this come from? Like, when did you get into Web3? Like, what happened? What's the history?
So Web3, I got into Web3, interestingly enough. I started through the Helium blockchain. I was a mass deployer of Helium hotspots. So like I set up this whole company, and like, I was deploying hotspots, like, actually in the UK. I was doing some stuff here in the US. And when it started to slow down, I was just tapping into the Caribbean market. So yeah, I started off with Helium, like, when it on the onset, it was very, very lucrative at the time. And then like things started to slow down a little bit, and I started to explore other aspects of crypto, because now I know about blockchain. The first blockchain I knew about was Helium. So like I started to do a little bit more exploring. A friend of mine got me into a protocol. Hey, listen, man, you can do this crypto thing, and this was through BNB. You can do this crypto thing, and you put in your money, and it gives you a 20% return every 2 weeks. Oh,
Guaranteed.
yeah, yeah, it got me. That got me. So that was my first run. And it's interesting because I actually learned how to look at a smart contract. So
Mm.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to put my money into this thing, right? Where do I find it? So I found the contract address. I stumbled upon, like, the blockchain explorer, and I looked at the smart contract, and like, yeah, the money was there. And then I think it was about my third round into it, I put another set of money into it. I said, like, I just got into the habit of checking the smart contract every day. And one day I checked the smart contract. There was no money there. It was gone. Like,
Rug.
that was my first rug experience. And
Oh,
yeah, I just got kind of like got deeper. I just got more curious. And the first blockchain that I really started to interact with as far as like NFTs and DeFi, that was on the Kronos chain. So that's where I kind of first started off my whole NFT, DeFi, LP farming kind of like experience was over on the Kronos chain. That's going back about 3 years.
hmm.
Wow.
How was Helium the first blockchain you heard about? How did all the other ones get past you, like Bitcoin?
Well, again, it was like being an entrepreneur. It was something that a friend of mine in the UK brought to my attention. He was also an early adopter. He was working through a company called Emirate. Now, Emirate was one of the biggest mass deployers of hotspots. They had their own private label hotspots. They were doing fantastic stuff. So I kind of like looked at their business model and said, like, I can actually do something on a smaller scale, but like, still build something that's like,
Interesting. And you mentioned being rugged. I think we've all been there, right? I've shared my story of being rugs on the show, over and over again, unfortunately. What are some other, tough learning experiences that you had getting into the Web3 space?
in the early days, actually, I had a pretty smooth experience in the early days. Nothing as volatile as like what we're experiencing today. Um, but like, yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's like, are they actually rugs or are they failed projects? I've had this debate
Yeah.
many times.
Yeah.
So
It's a good question.
yeah, so I think like there were some failed projects where it was like the founders had all sincere intentions of like doing something that was blockchain driven, but again we have to take into consideration the protocol was new. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So there was a lot of experimentation, like and not knowing about sustainability. I think that like there was a lot of projects that started off, hey, we got a sneaking pool and all this kind of stuff, but it only lasts for 2 weeks. And like when the liquidity in the rewards pool dries up, it's kind of like the project dries up, or you've got to come back and do another mint. Oh, he's doing another mint, it's a cash grab. So like just going through all that kind of stuff again, like 3 years later, like I just look back and say, well, I mean, a lot of projects failed because they were just failed companies that, like,
Right.
didn't make it. But at the same time, were there some intentional rubs? Yes, there definitely was. There definitely was. So, it's a balance. I guess it's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the environment. I mean, it's so much worse today. Like, especially now that we're in the thralls of this meme coin season.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's so dangerous. It's so tempting, right?
mind is blown. Mind is blown. I mean, like, we know of the
Yeah.
pumped up funds and all that kind of stuff. You got platforms like Photon, Bullex, and it's
Right.
like, it's just amazing to me to see the amount of meme coins that are launched every single minute of the day. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? 24 hours of the day. And the majority of them, they're going nowhere because
Right.
Yeah.
they show you the indicators, right? They show you dev sold. Like that's like 90% of the shit. Dev
Yeah, I
sold.
think it's almost like expected with most meme coins. Like you said, they're there for like, a couple of hours and it's the goal is to ride that wave and then get out on time, but
Yeah.
different expectations with NFT projects, I think in every other case, right? You expect an NFT project to kind of be around, sustain itself for many reasons that doesn't always happen, but with the meme coins, except for Roaring Pepe, it seems like, all these new ones just kind of it's just a matter of hours to get in and get out.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate thing is that I mean I think there's definitely some genuine people out there that do like have all the best intentions to move forward and like grow a Web3 project,
Yeah.
but mean, there's so much traffic now. The barrier of entry is so low,
Right.
specifically when it comes to launching a token. No code work. You don't need to know code. You don't need to know blockchain. You just need to know how to press a couple of buttons. And hey, I'm a dev. Launch the token.
Yeah,
I'm a you're not a dev. You pushed a couple of buttons. You don't know how to code. You don't know
Yeah.
something. You don't know Rust. You don't even know what L2 is between an L1 and L2 and a subchain or whatever. But yeah, I think the barrier of entry is kind of lower. And going back to AI, now we've got AI, smart contracts are being generated through AI. So yeah, the landscape's changing. It's definitely getting fast and furious out there.
I
What
think that the meme coin thing, it's gonna, if it gets some sort of control, maybe a little bit, it could be a whole economy because as of right now, it is a whole economy, right? But there's no control. It's like the Wild West. It's like when NFTs first started, right? Which is NFTs are still the kind of the Wild West, but at least there's a little bit more of like understanding and control of NFTs. But right now, meme coins is what it is, and I think it has so much potential to be like its own economy, sort of like the stock market, kind of, if
No,
that
I
makes sense.
totally agree. I totally agree. Like, there definitely are some projects out there that are doing some good stuff. Again, you got Roaring Pepe, you got WFK with Fork and Knife, my man Lou. You got Brett Gold that just came out,
Right.
NFT.
Brett Gold.
You like, I mean, I could like reel off a number of them because I've featured quite a few of them on my platform and stuff like that. But there are some good people out there with good intentions. But again, it's just like with everything, we all got to deal with that volatility. Like, individuals looking for that next shiny thing, kind of, But I think it will shake itself out, and like the real ones will still be here building.
Yeah,
Like, the people that are just here to make a quick buck, they'll find something else to get interested in. But yeah, when the quote unquote meme coin season started, I think it was definitely refreshing because it added a new dimension to what we're doing here in Web3.
yeah, it did.
Um, a lot of people thought it was a season. My take was like, yo, no, this is a whole new, I mean, it's here to stay because like what we began to see in the space is a lot of different types of content creation. Like, the memes started to tell a whole bunch of stories. The memes
Right.
became the exciting thing. You know what I'm saying? Outside of us just looking at NFTs, it was like, oh, these memes are kind of like taking on a new shape and form kind of thing as far as like, content creation also. So I think it's an interesting segment. Like, again, it's got its good side, it's got its bad side, but I do think that it brought a breath of fresh air to the Web3 space.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about MarTech Networks. So what is MarTech Networks? Tell us what are you doing? What are your plans? What is it?
So there's quite a few layers to MarTech networks, and they're all very intentional. We're a marketing agency, we're a promotion agency. We also do consultation, like full A to Z. We work as advisors for several different projects and so on and so forth. We I've pretty much like mastered the art of the collaboration through the Saturday spaces that I've been doing for nearly, I guess we're coming on 3 years, about 2 years and 2 years and 7 months now.
Wow.
So over the last 2 years and 7 months, every single Saturday without fail. And I think I took a day off yesterday as well. So I've missed 4 Saturdays in the last 2.5 years since I started. So every Saturday there's a minimum of 3 projects featured. That's what kind of like, hey man, I'm 400 projects. So
Wow.
it's,
400.
it's all about collaboration and networking. Like, I have a real estate company, IRL, and it's all about facilitating the deal so that it's a win-win. It's all about kind of like educating the customer on the process. So I guess like, it's always been my intention when I came into Web3 was like collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Bring people and projects together. I think like that is where the future growth of Web3 lies. Now, what got me to that way of thinking is again on my early journey in Web3 and like my early entree into jumping into X Spaces, Twitter Spaces back then. there was such a negative sentiment.
Right.
It was my goodness, it was ridiculous. I mean, like, there'd be no structure. People would be talking over each other. People would be disrespecting each other. Projects getting funded left, right, and center. And I said, like, I like the spaces, but I don't like the environment. And that's what led me to start opening up my own space. And I said, like, look, forget all this BS. I'm gonna call my space Good Vibes Saturday. It's just gonna be good vibes. Like, and yeah, that's what gave birth to GVS. And 2.5 years later, and featured some of the greatest projects in Web3. I'm fortunate to say, the biggest one being Michelin, the Web2 iconic corporation.
Right.
Uh, I was
Wow.
actually fortunate enough just through my networking, because I think last year, was it 2023? I spent over 500 hours in spaces.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's every day. But again, that was all part of the building the network, and like, meeting different people and meeting different projects and so on and so forth. So yeah, I found myself in the Michelin Mint space one day, and I think that was through the affiliation with Genuine Undead, because they did do a strategic trade placement in the collection with Genuine Undead. So
Interesting.
I stumbled into the space, and it was a bonfire in there. It was so organized. It was going up. And like, I always managed to find my way into the speakers gallery. And I said to the team, like, yo, guys, let me co-host this for you.
Yeah.
Let me bring the space under order for you. And like, hey, they threw me the co-host. Like, I got the space under order, and yeah, it was a successful mint and created a great relationship. Great team over there. You got FOMO Boys. He's got an agency in Paris that is been assisting Michelin with their path and entree into Web3. You got TT, he's on the Michelin team and all that kind of stuff. So, like, yeah, managed to form a great affiliation with them.
What how do you think you have evolved from your first spaces, like hosting that, to today? Because you seem very comfortable doing it. You seem very in control. What was the evolution of that? Or were you that good before in Web 2 in the IRL and you brought it into Web 3?
I mean, again, I've been an entrepreneur, so I mean, there's a certain protocol, there's a certain way that you have to approach things, there's a certain way that you have to communicate with people, like, especially when there's money involved.
Sure.
Like, it's all about setting certain levels of expectation. So I'm always putting my disclaimers out. Hey, it's not financial advice. Are these projects going to be here next week? I don't know, kind of thing. Like, just keeping it real and transparent with the audience, because like, nobody wants to be sold anything. Do you know what I mean? I mean, for me, I like to provide individuals with as much information as necessary, so that they can make the best calculated decision whether they want to move forward with a business deal or not.
Mhm.
So for me, it's all about providing information. Now, the shows are unstructured, so they're not scripted or anything like that. But one thing that I do stand on is, like, giving projects, no matter how big or small they are, the opportunity to give long form information.
Mm,
That's what I'm really interested in, is having long form information being provided to the audience, but in a comfortable environment. It's kind of
right.
like, it's just like, hey, it's me at the crib, and I'm like, hey, I'm talking into my phone, and I play music, we take a break, and it kind of breaks up the monotony. So I kind of coined a phrase. I call it infotainment.
Yeah.
So you information, but you're going to get entertained at the same time as well. I visualize this nightclub atmosphere, and the bar's open, and you can go grab a drink, and then, like, hey, get to your seat. The guy's about to talk, and you're going to listen to this, and then you exchange dialogue for maybe like 10, 15 minutes. I bounced around to the different featured guests, and just make sure that everybody's feeling comfortable and it's a good vibe.
I love it. I love it. And do you feel like you benefit from it, besides whatever, relationship you have with those specific projects? How do you benefit? Does your network really grow through that, or is it really more about the connecting the people?
Absolutely. So I guess it's kind of like it's a reciprocal exchange between myself and project, because like what I've been doing is I've actually been reverse engineering and building my community. You know, and that's always been an intention as well. It's to build the community, but build the
Yeah.
community not based upon me trying to sell them something. Build the community based upon providing information. And like, that's what I've done for the last 2.5 years. And that's what's enabled me to build my network. So Alpha Drop, yeah. So now 2.5 years later, it's coming to the point that I'm going to start releasing certain products into Web3 from under the MarTech Networks umbrella.
Nice. So let's talk about our boys back here, right? The Saints.
The Saints of LA, Casey.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he's listening somewhere out there. So how did you get involved with like Roaring Pepe and the Saints and all that? Like, how did that happen?
So again, just through like doing my thing out there networking. I remember when the Saints of LA first minted. Think I jumped into a few of their spaces. That's when I first met Casey. He's familiar with a lot of the projects that I know as well, and we kept on bumping into each other in spaces. And I remember specifically, we were both on the speakers panel in a space, and Casey said to me just right, Martech, I need your energy. I need some Martech in my life. I remember you said that, Casey. You said that you need me in your life. If you're listening, I remember you said that. But yeah, of recent, I guess it's over the last like 2, 3 months. Like I was hosting spaces with like NFT Kid. We were doing Meme Coin Mondays. That was every Monday. Then I was co-hosting with Doodle Genix every single day.
Oh wow.
And yeah, we just kept on crossing paths. And I believe I featured Roaring Pepe a couple of times on my space. And like, there was just, I just had certain synergies going on with Side Project, who's like, the founder and stuff like that. Fantastic guy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there were just certain synergies. And like, we just, bounced a couple of ideas backward and forward, and like they presented me with an opportunity, and I said, yeah, fantastic.
What are the green flags that you feel good about a project, and what are the red flags that make you a little skeptical of a project?
Oh goodness, I mean, it's sometimes it's really hard to decipher. It is really hard to
Question, huh?
because sometimes you don't see the red flags until the red flags are in place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I try to be as objective as I can, to be honest with you, because some of the craziest ideas turn out to be some of the greatest projects. So
Sure.
I'm totally unbiased. When a project comes on the platform, I let them give their presentation. It's like, hey, fair enough. If this is what you believe in, who am I to judge? Like, I think being judgmental in the Web3 space. I mean, I've seen a lot of people that are truly here to build and are truly bringing value. I've seen their projects get fudded for no reason.
Right.
Like, I tend to reserve my opinions. There might be certain things like I might see interesting activity on a chart, or I can go into bubble maps and say like, yo, there's definitely some wash trading going on here, but hey, what do I know? Like, do you know what I'm saying? It's very subjective when it comes to red flags. I mean, because sometimes like, we take a negative outlook on something based upon our own opinions. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes we're not always correct with our opinions. So I try to be as
Yeah.
objective as possible. And sometimes, like, it does actually bite me in my ass because, like, man, you had that feeling before, But yeah, yeah.
So talking about like the devs and stuff like that, like I got involved with Roaring Pepe through obviously through Casey and met the guys and stuff. But we had Side Project on our show a couple of weeks ago, um, and I just love his vibe. He's very down to earth. Like the guy just knows his thing. He's been in Web3 for a very long time. Like you can just resonate with him and you want to support him, and that's what I like about like Roaring Pepe. Like it's a genuine project that he's trying to push, and Casey's also trying to push. Same thing with the Saints of LA. Like it's like a family. You know what I mean? Like everybody supports each other. Like it's extremely supportive. Like it's a good project that is just has genuine good people. Period.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, side project and I guess we got kind of like a little bromance going on. I know that AC's jealous. I'm taking away his side project. Um, but side project and we actually speak every single day. I'm a systems guy. I believe in communication. Like, when you're running a business, like, I believe that communication is the key. Communicate with your team is a key. So we speak every
Yeah.
single day. He knows when it comes to like between 8 and 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be hitting him up every single day without fail, even on a Sunday. And you didn't pick up today's side project. What the heck? So, yeah. So I believe in communication because, like, my background is in graphic art. As far as like in the apparel industry, I've been a graphic designer and clothing designer all my
Wow.
life.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so that's a little bit what kind of leans me toward loving NFTs. I love the art. I love the creativity behind it and stuff like that. And I can appreciate the artists. I appreciate the creative minds. I appreciate the devs because, like, being a creative, it can be a very lonely space sometimes, especially if you don't have objective individuals to bounce your ideas off of.
Right.
That's why I call you Everyday Side Project, because my blowing up with ideas like left, right, and center. Sometimes I can look at something in its simplest form and just create something out of it. Like, and that was, that's the whole emphasis of being like a fashion designer. It's like, okay, there's nothing different about a t. This is one of my t-shirts that I'm wearing, by the way. There's nothing different about a t-shirt, but you can make it different with the way that you construct it, with the way that you place a screen print or something like that.
Right.
Like, there's different little things that you can add uniqueness to like a garment. And it's just like with Web3, there's different things that you can add to your project that brings value and makes it unique and stuff like that. And I think, again, having the opportunity to feature so many different projects, I've heard a lot of creativity, a lot. And I appreciate every creative mind that's been out there. I support them. And like I always say, the real builders, I support. Mind that's been out there. I support.
Yeah, for sure. That's just the way that it should be. Everybody should be supporting each other. Obviously, that's not the case because there's so many rugs and people that are just out there trying to steal your money. Like Kevin and I, we've been rugged, so many times that obviously Kevin more than me, but
Thanks.
that you know why? Because Kevin doesn't do his research.
I don't have time to do research. Okay, I just want to be a millionaire
Doesn't do his
overnight.
research.
No.
He'll call me. He's like, "Dude, I just jump into this project. You got to look at it." I'm like, "What? Did you research it? Did you look at it? Did you know who the founder is? Like, what's happening?"
It
Oh,
doesn't
come
matter.
on. I mean, look at Kevin, though. He just looks ruggable.
Yeah, yeah. He's just that's what it
I
is.
know.
And then
Yeah,
like
yeah.
2 weeks later, he's like, "Oh, they rugged me."
They
I'm like,
got
"Yeah,
me.
no shit,
They
they
got
rugged
me.
you."
Yeah,
Uh,
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
I think what you said
Yeah,
about having somebody to bounce ideas off of is really valuable, and I think that's what Miguel and I have been doing for the past 2.5 years. Really, is we'll just text each other with random ideas, and just kind of keep us moving in a good direction and stay motivated, stay positive. Um, and so I think it's good for anyone to find that if they're looking to create something or start something or be a part of something, you got to find a partner that you can trust and that complements your skills.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And like, I've always like, again, just being a creative and like, having like set up a couple of teams and stuff like that. Communication is the key. Sometimes it might be the simplest thing, but if you don't communicate that to other members in your team, there can be a breakdown. There can be a breakdown in productivity. There can be a breakdown in efficiency and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I definitely feel that, like, communication is definitely is paramount with anything. Transparency, even if you're doing something or if you didn't execute properly, communicate that to your team
Mm,
because your team is your support system, right?
right,
So
right.
those are going to be the individuals that are going to be there to, like, come up with a solution for a potential problem that may have, like, started in your backyard. But none of us are perfect. That's the beautiful thing.
Right.
We learn from our mistakes, right? So once you get to the point where you're humble enough to know that you're not perfect and you will make mistakes and you can communicate, you know what, maybe I did this wrong. What do you think? How could I have done it better? Do you know what I'm saying? And like you get an objective opinion from somebody else. Well, now all of a sudden you're elevating your game. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Some people are, they're too headstrong or they're too proud to admit that, they're at fault or they have fault. I
Yeah.
think, like, so that is one red flag for me. When I come across a founder that is overzealous, like, hey, I just know everything. Like, yeah, that's a big red flag for me because nobody knows everything in Web3. Protocols change every day. Like I've said before, there is no Web3 university. You go to, you graduate, you walk across the stage, throw the hat up in the air, and show mama the certificate. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, right? We're learning every single day. And
Yeah.
I think, like, we have to be humble enough to listen. Like,
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that anybody can do in Web3 is just listen, because by listening you're going to learn a little bit more. You get to learn something new in Web3 every single day. That's why I like showing up every single day,
Yeah.
like, because there's always something new to learn, like, and it just helps us to sharpen our skills. Like, again, we are still a ways away from mass adoption. I
Mhm.
mean, like, if we put mass adoption into context, we're talking about hundreds of millions, if not billions of people actually entering into the space. Do you know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
when we hear like, hey, I'm on board and I'm on, but hey, all right, bro, I get it. Like, you're on board in one at a time. Mass adoption will occur when, like, mass media, when we start having crypto commercials during the Super Bowl, like,
Yeah.
when we have them CNN, like, do you know what I'm saying? That's what mass adoption is all about, and it's taking time, slowly but surely. We are seeing certain subliminal messages being conveyed in TV advertising with
Mm.
movies. Kevin Hart recently done a movie
Yeah.
about crypto. Like, do you know what I'm saying? There's been a
Yeah.
couple of B movies have come out about crypto, but like, eventually it'll get to the mainstream.
Yeah. I'm curious, what is your pitch to someone? You meet someone in your life and they've never really heard of crypto or they don't understand it. What's sort of your selling point to say, well, this is why you should check it out?
Oh, and the thing is, I'm a sort. The thing is, I'll give somebody an introduction. I won't say this is why you should check it out because it's not for everybody.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'll make an introduction and say, hey, are you interested in crypto? Or are you involved in crypto or something
Uh-huh.
like that? And like, oh no, and I'm like, okay, well, it's interesting, and I don't really get too deep into it because, like, first of all, I don't want to feel like I'm insulting somebody's intelligence by
Sure.
seeing like I'm the smart guy. Well, I know about crypto, you don't. And that's how a lot of people come off. Well, how come you don't know about crypto? I mean, for those of us that are here in Web3, we are a small percentage of the population that have
Yeah.
gone down the rabbit hole and not found our way back out. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
we are the crash test dummies. It is early days. It's very
Yeah.
early.
It's
So,
funny. Look at Nets from Pudgy Penguins. He did a post today, and he said there are over 3,000 companies in the world with a market evaluation exceeding $10 billion, and out of those 3,000 companies, only 11 of them are in crypto.
Wow.
And he goes, "We're still early."
very, 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 very early. And I guess like once mass adoption comes, that number will accelerate. Like,
Oh,
because
absolutely,
you
one
know,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, that number will accelerate. You know,
And you know who's going to benefit? Us, because we're early.
absolutely, absolutely.
Hopefully,
We're the crash test dummies, man. Like,
hopefully,
we're the ones that are going to make all the mistakes and rectify them, which is a good thing, I think.
yeah,
Like, we can learn through our errors and so on and so forth. But, I've said it many times, there's going to be so much opportunity being created for individuals that are early adopters in the Web3 space. It's actually happening right now. Like, you can go on LinkedIn, you can look in the job section, and you can see like, jobs being offered in the web free space, 250 grand. like 200 grand, like just for individuals that have like, taken on board the learning. Because
Right.
again,
Yeah.
no, there's no university. You had to invest in yourself. Being in Web3 now is an investment in self, you know?
Yeah, the
That's
thing with Web3 is that it's a technology that is still evolving, right? Every day changes into something else. So nobody
absolutely,
knows what the end game is going to be, but we're in it. We're in the Web3 space right now. Like the technology just continues to change daily. So what is it going to look like 10 years from now? Who knows? It might not look anything like what we're looking at today, right? But
absolutely.
we'll see what happens in the future and see how that takes us and where it's going to take us and what it's going to look like, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's so many more implications as far as like the use of blockchain technology outside of what we see every day,
Yeah.
outside of like NFTs, outside of cryptocurrency, outside of like the DeFi side.
Yeah.
Like again, the blockchain is a ledger for storing data.
Uh-huh.
Like, and that's why, like, of recent, over the last few months, we've seen like the introduction of like RWAs, like, the whole deep in movement, decentralized physical infrastructure networks, like where like, physical structures are being tokenized and put on the blockchain. It's happening through real estate. It's going to happen with electricity. There's solar companies that are coming. You got ganja farms, you got weed farms that are becoming deep ins, like so the evolution of like where blockchain and web3 is going to take us, I mean, it's mind-blowing. It changes every single day, like
Uh-huh.
implications, like outside of what we get to see, in everyday traffic, the NFT, the crypto, the memes, like the LP protocols, the dexes. There's so much more to blockchain technology than that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if you think about it, sorry, Kevin.
Go
If
ahead.
you think about it, like companies before computers existed, right? Then computers came in, everybody was skeptical, but now every company can't live without computers, right? So now you think about like Web3 and just the blockchain in general. It's a new technology, right? So how are companies going to leverage that technology now, and what it's going to look like in the future? It's basically what I'm trying to say. But like when you put things into perspective, as far as like how computers were never there and companies existed, huge companies, millions of dollars, billions, right? And they were still there. And then computers came in, did their thing, and now they can't even live without computers. So I think in the future is going to look something like, we can't live without blockchain, right? What is blockchain going to look like in a company like McDonald's or a company like, I don't know, Ferrari or, whoever? What is that going to look like for Apple, for example? That's what we got to really look at. Like, what does that future look like, and how are this company going to harness that technology, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the blockchain is the ultimate filing cabinet, right? It's
Uh-huh.
not going to go anywhere. You can't lose it. Like, once it's on blockchain, once it's on that ledger, once it's got its block, that's it. It's there for life, right?
There.
From what I understand, and it's immutable. You can't. It's tamper proof, depending on how the smart contract is like drafted up. So, can you imagine record keeping? Record keeping
Yeah.
isn't going to be on some kind of hard drive, like I mean, as you said, like when computers first came in, like these little tiny computers that we got now, they used to be in whole office buildings just to store all the data.
Right.
Now, where we are, we're at the evolution. Now you don't even need a building to store it. It's on the blockchain.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
blockchain is the evolution of the cloud. Like, do you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, again, so early on, the development of it and the way that these corporations are going to start interacting with it, and the access that we will be able to have as far as like our most important documents, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miguel, you sort of touched on what I was going to say about these companies like a McDonald's, right? And how they're currently trying to use Web3. We've seen these weird NFT releases from them and Taco Bell, and, Budweiser has done their thing. But to your point, Martech, about when are companies going to really adopt this and adapt to it? And I think about my industry. I work in the hotel industry, and I've always, I'm more of the operational hotel kind of guy, but I always
Mhm.
think about how could blockchain technology work in running a hotel. And I think about these companies that we pay to do all these little services that could all be handled on the blockchain, right? Everything from payroll, right? You should be
Right,
able to say that once I punch in and I punch out for the day, I should be able to transfer money to you for the hours you worked. It shouldn't have
right,
to wait to go through a payroll processing company, right? That could be
right,
handled that way. We send guest satisfaction surveys after you check out, right? But that should be blockchain automated too. Like once I see this transaction that you have left the hotel, it should just send that should just trigger the sending of a survey. It's the same thing with guest request items, right? Once you request an item and it gets delivered, that should all be logged in the ledger, and then I can send a follow-up text message to you immediately automatically. Did you get what you wanted, right? Like it's
right,
we're
right,
so centralized in all these other things that it,
right,
or rather decentralized, that it almost could be centralized through
right.
using your own blockchain or just a bigger blockchain. That we're just missing it right now. People are just trying to see, oh, what can I get out of it if I do a funny NFT for a Taco Bell versus like how can I improve my operation off of this.
Right, right, right. And it's interesting because centralization equates to capitalism.
Yeah,
Like, you
Yeah,
know,
pretty much. Yeah,
centralization equates to capitalism because, like, hey, it's just like with the banks, right? It's like, I need to I had to send a wire to the UK. When was it? About a month ago.
oh, sounds awful already.
Bro, it cost me like $36 or something ridiculous like that.
You're
Now,
crazy.
Now I know how the banks operate. It went through several different clearinghouses.
Yeah,
Every time it hit a clearinghouse, that
hmm
clearinghouse took a fee, right? And on top of that, it took a day to get there. Whereas, like with decentralized finance, okay, give me your wallet address, it'll be there in 2 seconds. Bam.
yeah,
yeah,
And the gas was like 2 cents.
right,
yeah,
exactly. It's mind blowing.
So the banks know that, like, the banks are in fear of becoming obsolete. It's happening. It's happening already. Do you know what I'm saying? I do a lot of my financial transactions through the blockchain, through crypto. Like, whether it be on Coinbase or crypto.com, I've got the card, I've got the
Right.
ATM cards, I've got the debit cards. And hey, when I spend this, I get rewarded in crypto or a crypto of my choice.
Mm,
You know what I'm
even
saying?
better. Yeah.
I stable out into USDC, put it on my crypto card, boom, 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 and it's easy transactions. Do you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Whereas like the bank, okay, now here you go. We're gonna charge you a fee for having the account.
Right.
We're gonna charge you a maintenance fee. We're gonna charge you this fee. But hold on, you guys have got a whole brick and mortar flipping mortgage, or like you own the real estate. That's too cumbersome already.
Right.
So I'm paying for your building. I'm paying for the electricity that you're using to run the building, and that is where blockchain will make these banking institutions become obsolete. They're
Yeah.
cumbersome. We don't need a footprint.
You're absolutely right.
yeah. Thinking about the banks, like you mentioned, there people don't know how many middle people are there that when you create a transfer, there's so many middlemen, right? And people don't know that. People think that you just hit the button and it goes and it's there, tomorrow, whatever.
Right.
There's so many middle people that they have absolutely no clue, right? In blockchain, there's nothing. It's just you send, you go, and that's it. You get it
Why are you trying to take their
Absolutely.
jobs away, Miguel?
Absolutely. I mean,
because I want the blockchain to win.
everything is becoming autonomous. Everything is becoming autonomous. You go to the grocery store, there's nobody at the checkout. There's nobody there. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Everything is becoming
Yeah,
autonomous. They got autonomous vehicles that they're starting to roll out. They got
Yeah.
autonomous trucks that they're starting to roll out. A Tesla can drive your ass home. Actually, furthermore, you can drive a Tesla to the club and send it home.
Yeah.
What the heck? Do you know what I'm saying? So parking lots are going to become obsolete. Who needs a parking lot? I can send my car
Interesting.
home and tell it to come pick me up when I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I like that idea.
This is where technology is taking us, and everything is going to be driven by blockchain. That's
Um,
that. That's my opinion.
MarTech, I wanna hear your thoughts on something about people participating in spaces and that idea of creating connections, because I think back to a guest that we had on our show many, many months ago named Alyssa Stevens. And I heard her on a spaces and I reached out and said, hey, we'd love to have you on the show. And she came on the show and that was cool. But she said she got her start because OpenSea heard her in a spaces. And once they featured her, it sold out her project. She ended up getting featured in Times Square. And so it just makes me think that when people have, that guts to step up on stage and present themselves, that some really great things can happen. So I'm curious to hear from you as a spaces host, sort of your thoughts on that, on how valuable or how important it is that people put themselves out there.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's something that you have to do. Like, there's so many collaborations that have been spawned from individuals just being in my space. Like,
Right.
whether they're in the audience or whether they're a featured projects. Again, network to get work. It's just a hub of networking. This person gets to meet that person. Oh, I saw that project. I'm interested in that project. Oh, I met the dev. Oh, I met the. I mean, it's a whole networking environment, and like it's so priceless right now because ordinarily, if we think back like 10, 15 years, they would you'd have to go to the local convention center,
Right.
you
That's
know,
true.
once a year
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, for what we can do in spaces every single day. And I always say to people, like, get in as many spaces as you can. As many spaces with as many different projects, with as many different projects that are on different blockchains as well.
Hmm.
You know, I'm
Right.
a blockchain maxi. I'm a blockchain maxi. That's it. Like, I'm a Web3 maxi. I'm a blockchain maxi. I love everything that's going on every single blockchain. Like, I'm just like I'm dying to learn. Like, I'm a sponge. I need to learn. I always say I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I know a hell of a lot of smart guys in the room, and that's by being in spaces. That's how I met. That's how I got to meet you guys. That's how I get to meet side project Pepe and like everyone else that are genuine undead. It's by being in spaces. So, like, if you are looking to grow a network or if you are looking to learn a little bit more and sharpen your skills, you got to be in spaces. That's our information highway for Web3. Because again, we've got three main forms of communication. You got Telegram, which is mainly for meme tokens. Then you got X, which is kind of like the information highway where everything crosses over. And then
Right.
you got Discord, which is more for community and stuff like that. So again, like, and I'm juggling between all three of them at the same time. So like throughout the whole day, I'm actually looking at my other screen that's got Telegram on it, and I know that there's another window with the Discord open. I can't.
So, how many projects are you working with right now in spaces? Is it a lot?
As far as how many projects, I'll say it's maybe about five.
How do you
Maybe.
juggle that?
I'm a multitasker. Um, I'm not into micromanagement, but I believe that time management is real important because not only do I have to take care of my Web3 duties, I got to take care of my Web2 duties as well.
Sure.
With my real estate company and like fashion design and garment manufacturing and all my other entrepreneurial endeavors. So it's time management. It's all about time management. That's the best execution in business. Like, I write everything down on paper. Everything's got to go down on paper. You
Oh
know,
no.
everything has to be written down. It has to be written down. It has to be written down. Because there's something about writing something down as opposed to like storing it on the computer. When it's written down, you're actually committing it to memory just for the motion of writing. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
I'm the opposite, Martech. I keep it right here.
oh,
I'm
good.
not. I'm the opposite. I use a digital note taker. That way you can search for something. There's no Control F on your notebook there, Martech, to find your note from 6 months ago. You're just flipping through pages, trying to decipher your handwriting.
Months ago, I've already executed it and put it to bed, man. It's already thinking.
That's funny.
Oh,
Let me ask a question because I remember I was listening to your GVS, your Good Vibe Saturday, maybe 2 weeks ago, and there was a project on there talking about like this pet service for dogs, and you seemed really impressed with
formula.
that. And so I'm
Yes.
curious, what projects have been interesting to you? What things seem exciting to you, or maybe even novel and new that are kind of standing out from the ordinary? What's caught your attention recently?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's the art, the uniqueness of the art. Sometimes it's the uniqueness of the use case, not
Mm,
utility. Because I make a difference. I make a big difference between use case and utility. Do you know what I'm saying?
right.
Like, use case, when you're actually solving a problem, when you're coming up with a solution, or like, you're advancing the way that something is done, especially when you can tie it back into IRL. I'm blown away by those kind of projects. Like, that's why I love the RWAs that are coming through, the deep pins and stuff. There's a new protocol out there called Grass right now, whereas like, you get rewards for your unused internet data. It works.
Yeah, I saw something about that. I want to do
Yeah.
that. Take my internet.
Hey, I'll send you the link. I got the reward. I'll send that to you.
Yeah.
But there's so many things. There's another deep in called Wingbits. This one's amazing. So the data that is transferred from the aircraft backward and forward, right? There's a space in between where companies are actually buying that data and reselling it.
Oh my
Now,
god.
yeah, yeah, and selling it back to the airlines, right? So, like, now you've got a company that they've created a protocol where they're like, taking that data, you get rewarded by having the antennas on the roof, all that kind of good stuff.
Wow.
It's just amazing how the space keeps on evolving. You probably want to reach out to Scott Fu. Uh, like, he's a specialist when it comes to deep. He actually adopted early and became very knowledgeable in the area.
That's interesting. So I guess along those lines, that stuff is exciting to you, but what else keeps you motivated? Is this, you kind of drop some alpha that you're going to be releasing something. Is that kind of in the back of your head with every spaces you do, every comment you make, you're kind of set yourself up for your credibility and now you're going to drop something on us, or, how do you stay excited?
I think just adding to my proof of work,
Hmm.
like, just building up a network based upon credibility, like, based upon offering other individuals opportunity, based upon supporting other individuals, and so on and so forth. It's definitely given me the opportunity to learn a lot, like, understand the nuances of Web3, see where I can make a difference, see where other individuals can make a difference and stuff like that, because it's really all about bringing value to the space.
Right.
So I think, with the knowledge, experience, and the network that I've built, it kind of puts me in a prime position to, like, deliver, products of value into Web3, because it's interesting what a lot of people do, or a lot of projects do, and I say this with all due respect, is they'll actually launch a project first and then try and build a community, without having any kind of proof of, like, who is this guy? Where
Yeah.
did he come from?
Yeah.
He's doing this. What is your proof of work? You have none. So I guess for me, like, I've put the work in, I've earned my stripes, and so on and so forth. I've made some good collaborations, got some great projects within the network and stuff like that. So I think the natural evolution of MarTech Networks is, like, to start releasing some projects from.
Okay, we're gonna keep an eye out. We're gonna follow those things on our show. Sometimes I get a feeling like in Web3, it's kind of all the same echo chamber where it's maybe a smaller group of people than it might feel like. And do you feel that way, that it's just kind of the same chamber that everyone's in, or is it a big space and there's a lot left unclaimed?
Well, the thing is, we got choices, right? We got choices if we want to be like tribal, like, you know what I'm saying, and get into these echo chambers. I like innovation, like, I need learning, like, I don't think that there's any wrong with the communities and the small sub communities, because everybody's got different tastes and everybody like vibes with different scenarios and environments and all that. So would I call them echo chambers? I wouldn't even call them echo chambers. That's kind of disrespectful. There's people hanging out in there having a good time.
Yeah.
Like, if they decide to talk about the same thing all the time, that's good for their tribe.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That's Fair try. Now
Yeah,
come
that's
hang
fair.
out with the good vibes. Come out and hang out with me on a Saturday and get something different. And then, like, I mean, variety is the spice of life. And that's why I think that we cannot be too judgmental upon what decisions people decide to make for themselves. Who am I to tell you where to hang out? Go hang out where you feel comfortable. It's a decentralized world.
Yeah. I think I've shared with Miguel even that like I'm a little intimidated to hold our own spaces because I think, maybe one person will step in, two people will step in. What's sort of your advice to someone who doesn't have a huge audience on how to get started with that?
You've got to start somewhere. I
Yeah.
mean, like, my spaces started out. I was consistent. I just consistent. I showed up. I supported a lot of different projects. I got to know a lot of different communities, and I stayed consistent. I stayed consistent. It was this week. I was like, hold on, I haven't taken a break in about a year. That's 52 Saturdays, and
Yeah.
then I'll do a network to get workspace during the week twice. So I'm like, hold on. You haven't taken it. So like, this Saturday I said, all right, then like, I'm gonna regroup, like, a few things going on in IRL. So let me just regroup and then like, come back fresh on Monday. So it's good to step away sometimes. It's good to like, especially if you put in a lot of time. Like, I've supported a lot of projects. They know who they are. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do every single one of them reciprocate? No, they don't. Some of them have selective amnesia. Yes, they do. But do I see it as a problem? Not at all.
Yeah, I definitely need a vacation, Kevin.
You can have next week off. That's it. Then we're back at it.
No, that's okay. We're gonna keep grinding
Yeah, we're
with
gonna keep
MarTech.
grinding.
MarTech,
Yeah.
you coming with us?
Yeah,
Uh,
Martek, we're pulling you on board. You're gonna be part of the Rebel Ants family.
hey, you see, it's that network to get work
That's
juice.
right.
That's what you guys have been drinking all show.
I can't tell you what I've been drinking all show.
Oh man, yeah. But I think you really have to have a passion. Like, you have to have a passion to want to help, to want to see something progress, to want to see something grow. I think everybody in Web3 has the opportunity to contribute something. Whether you're a dev, a graphic artist, even a community member has the opportunity to contribute something. Be a part of the communities. Who's playing that Shabba Ranks in the background? Somebody's playing Shabba Ranks.
I think that's Miguel's background there.
The party going on in one of those backyards back there.
Yeah.
It's Shabba Ranks, right? I know it's Shabba Ranks.
Um, Martek, I'm curious in your experience in the marketing side of what you do, what works in Web 2 and Web 3 that is, that's just good practice versus what, this thing that works in Web 2 definitely doesn't translate to Web 3. Like what are some of those things that, any project should be mindful of or any marketer should be mindful of to say in, Web 2 and Web 3 this is always going to work, but this other thing here you can't do that in Web 3.
Yeah, I think it's just a bit about being honest, being transparent, and setting the right levels of expectation.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? I think that's really where it's at. Like, with any project that comes into the Web3 space, don't overpromise. It goes back to that saying, under promise and over deliver. So, and to me, that comes from expectation. Like, start off slow. Don't try and accomplish too much. Know your limitations. And it's just the same thing with Web two. Like, if you're trying to close a deal with somebody, best way to close that deal is be honest and transparent.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just because I believe strongly, the way that things start are the way that they finish. That philosophy has never failed me. If you start a deal on a bad foot with a bad feeling, that's how it's going to end up.
That's a good point.
It's going to end
Yeah,
up like, bro, I'm telling you, try that strategy. The way that things start are the way that it's going to finish. Time is the greatest revealer of all things. Like, so somebody could say, hey, yeah, I promise I'm going to do this. All right, clock's ticking. Let's see. Prove me wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, honest transparency and integrity, those are the key elements. Like, those are the key elements.
yeah.
Like, because if you're selling somebody something, you want to sell them something, or you want to give them enough information so that they make the decision. You
Right.
don't make selling the decision for them. Let them make the decision based upon the facts and the information that you've given them. And that's how I feel that you present your project in Web3. Don't try and sell anybody anything. Just give them enough information. Here it is. Here's the art. You either like the art or you don't like the art. Like we either got a roadmap or we ain't got a roadmap. The decision is yours whether you like it. Maybe you just like the founder. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you let the individual make the decision.
Yeah, it's the consistency of doing it. Like we've been doing this consistently for about 3 years now, almost. So we don't have the biggest following, but we continue to show up every day. That's
Right,
what we're going to continue to do. Just because
right.
this is what we like, this is what we love, and this is what we're going to continue to do.
And it's that passion that's going to keep you going. It's not about how many people. It's quality over quantity. That's what I
Right.
always say. Like, do you know what I'm saying? If you guys are passionate, and obviously you are, that's why you show up and do it. It's not about how many people tune in. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's about you guys just being consistent with what, like, your visions are and how long. It's not a matter of how long. It's a matter of when, because it will happen. All of a sudden, the right opportunity will come, and then like boom, you know, I'm telling it goes back to that saying. It could take a lifetime to become an overnight success.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen to that. We're waiting for our sugar daddy to come find us. So, all right, listen, we want to respect your time. So thank you so much for joining us, MarTech. Where
Thank
can
you.
people find you? Where should they follow you along? What should they be looking out for?
Oh, so I mean, again, I'm a mainstay on the X platform at MarTech Networks, Telegram at MarTech Networks, Discord at MarTech. Everything is at MarTech Networks.
We get
Pretty
it.
simple.
My website and UI is undergoing a facelift right now. That is martechnetworks.com.
It's a good name. It's a good domain name to
It is
have.
a good name.
Yeah, so Martech is actually a combination of my last name, which is Martin. So Martin Technologies,
Oh,
Ah,
so it's
I like
kind
it.
of like,
there's some alpha right there.
yeah, the family legacy, just trying to roll that down,
There you go.
with my son. But yeah, Martech Networks on X, Martech Networks on Telegram, Martech Networks Discord, martechnetworks.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We look forward to joining your next Good Vibe Saturday, 10:30 Eastern. Is that right?
10:30 Eastern Standard Time every single Saturday, and then I am doing a couple of spaces during the week. They pop up sporadically. Network to get work. I've been doing a constant one on Wednesdays with Roaring Pepe and the Saints of LA, and I've been doing a Sunday space with Roaring Pepe, and so like yeah, it seems like the schedule's increasing. Yeah,
That's a good
it's
problem. That's a good
yeah,
problem to have. Good.
increasing. So
All right,
like,
man. Well, thank you so much. Have a great night, and we look forward to following along with whatever you drop next.
thank you so much, guys. And like, I got to book you guys on Good Vibe Saturday. I want to
Yeah.
find out. Let me sit on the other side. This is the first time I've actually been interviewed, I guess, in 2.5 years. So, like, yeah, it'll be great to have you guys on the space and learn a lot more about what you guys are doing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
for
man.
sure. We'll be there. Yeah.
All right. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for joining.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.